Okay, here we go. Nice and quiet.
Sound speeds, camera rolling.
Holding for sound. Last looks. Calling for last looks.
And set and action.
I need to swap batteries.
You know, making movies is hard.
Making movies is hard.
Welcome to Making Movies is Hard, the podcast about the struggle of being an independent filmmaker. I'm Alrik IV, the founding host of the podcast. I've been crewing up on sets for over 10 years. I've worked on dozens of films. I've made films, shorts, and features, either as a producer or director. And now I'm just finishing up my first feature as a writer and director, The Alternate.
I'm Liz Manischel. I'm a writer, director, producer with 2 features under my belt and one that I'm attached to, sci-fi feature. I'm also a former film critic and a current distribution consultant who used to manage Sundance's creative distribution initiative.
This week, we have filmmaker Kate Forsatz and editor Meredith Veach on the show to talk about their feature Threebound, which they shot in New York City pre-pandemic on an extremely low budget with an extremely large amount of locations. And having seen the movie, it's like, and then knowing what it was, what it was, you know, what the budget was, man, it's pretty impressive what they were able to put together. We got into the nitty gritty of how they put this film together and their road to distribution. And yeah, it was just a really fascinating conversation. We are going to get right into the interview, but don't go away because we have another Get Shorty featuring the film Product of My Environment, or POME, and Liz and Alrik finally read some YouTube comments. So without any more jibber jabber, here is our conversation with Kate and Meredith.
So Meredith and Kate, thank you for being on this show. We're going to start off with maybe each of you could take one question of these production-centered questions. So who would like to give us the elevator pitch for Threebound?
Kate, that's all you meant.
Okay. Threebound is about 2 recently singled New Yorkers just went through a big breakup and messy breakup. And they cross paths, they meet, hit it off. And in order to avoid the rebound relationship, they decide to sleep with 3 other people first and then try their relationship.
And then how many days did you shoot the film?
We filmed Threebound in 11 days.
What was the rough budget, or what can you talk about in terms of budget?
Our budget was roughly around, what was it, 300 million? Was that right, Meredith?
Yeah, something like that. Around ballpark.
I think it was 350. We went for a cool 350.
350 million.
Yeah.
I like that phrasing.
350 million. Clearly, I have no experience with that much money.
Could you give a little bit more of a hint in terms of the resources?
No, I was just being a smart ass. Yeah, we filmed it it was under 100. It was around what? Probably like around 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
Copy that.
And that's not million, guys.
And then how long did you spend working on the film from, coming up with the idea to releasing the film?
Yeah, I started writing Threebound probably like outline form 2013. And then we wound up shooting a teaser in 2014. And that was a really bad idea. We were convinced that people would want to see the teaser and they're going to throw this money at us. And that didn't happen. And then we wound up going into production in 2016.
How big was the crew?
We were really lean. I think in total, it was probably about 20 to 30 of us. Not huge, but I think it depended on the day too. But we had lots of actors.
And then compared to all the other projects you've made, how difficult was this one?
Both of you answer this one.
Well, this was ultimately my first feature editing on my own. So as far as challenging it was, and it was fun to really piece it together and have my own say and not have a whole team of people telling me what to do. And Kate and Daryl, the producers and directors, were so collaborative, and it was really fun, but challenging, yes. Difficult, I don't know. It's just fun. It's great.
Okay, well, we got to talk about that trailer. Like, jumping into the questions that we have. You said it was a mistake.
Okay, let's hear from Kate. Let's hear Kate's answer to the question too.
Oh, shit. Sorry, Kate. I was so enamored by that answer that I just completely forgot. I'm the worst. Go on.
It's okay, because I forgot the question. I was like, Meredith is so smart. And then I'm like, wait, what was the question?
Compared to all the other projects you've made, how difficult was this one?
It was challenging. I'd only done shorts before, so it was definitely a longer haul, but not that much longer because it was only, 11 days. But it was challenging because there were a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things that I didn't think about. Yeah, it was certainly challenging.
Now let's talk about the teaser. Because I'm just so intrigued. Yeah, you mentioned this in your outreach email to us. You said we spent this money that we had to do this teaser, and it was a mistake. And a lot of people make that decision, but I don't know whether they see it as a mistake. So please go into what were the negatives aspects of that.
So let me talk about the positives first, because I'm a big believer in like focusing on the positive. The positive was that we really got a chance to get to know our team. And we brought along a lot of the same people from our teaser to our feature. And that was a great thing. People worked with us, liked us, and said, sure, I'm in it for a far more difficult task of, a feature length film. The drawback was, I think we listened to other people, and I think that's something that in this business you get advice, and it's very important to get advice from people who've done it before, but everybody's journey is going to be different. So, for us, I think we raised about like $14,000, and we were like, this is going to be great. It's such a small part of what we want the budget to be. And in hindsight, I'm like, wow, what did I do? But that's how you learn. You have to jump in and decide to make a movie, and then you're going to make mistakes. And I don't think it was a complete mistake, because we found a lot of good people along the way. One of the people that came to us through our teaser was our costume designer, Emily. She was such a find. And if making the teaser meant that we were getting to work with Emily because that's how we found her, then it was worth it. So yeah.
So my question is so what was the plan? So you made the teaser trailer, and then you're going to raise $1 million with this, but how were you planning to do that? And then what happened? Where was the fault in the plan?
Well, we were unknown. We're unknown. I mean, everybody knows us now, but we were unknown people. So we'd never made a film, and we were new. And you approach people and you're like, I have this great idea. And you think you have this network. And then you're like, oh, my network's good to a point. And then you're just like, okay, people are passing, people aren't interested. And, what do we do next? And that was a big obstacle along the way, because, it's like you pivot and then you pivot, and then you're like, holy shit, what are we going to do now? Because we've pivoted and nothing's happening. And we got to a point where we literally had nothing. We had maybe a couple $1,000s that we raised from another crowdfunding thing, and we got fiscal sponsorship, which ultimately was a huge advantage for us. But then I just started getting restless. I saw that my team was kind of dispersing. This one was moving to LA, this one was doing this one, and I was like, I have to do something. So I started to just reflect on the things that I'm good at. And I'm really good at gathering good people, people who are in it because they want to make a movie and because they love what they do. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep collecting people, but on different fronts. So I'm like, we need locations. So I'm going to start there and then see how we can, we need to get some kind of momentum behind this project. And it was just so stagnant for, I want to say a year. We were just really stagnant. We were perfecting our deck. We were, trying to recut the teaser and trying to make it more appealing, and it just wasn't working. So I started approaching locations in New York, and it was like, we have nothing to offer you, and we're not going to give you any money because we don't have it, but can you please let us film in your establishment for, a full day? And some people were some people were very receptive and welcoming and were like, sure. Some people were like, well, we usually charge $10,000 a day. I'm like, oh, if our budget changes, I'm like, I'll give you a call. But, for right now, that's not really in our budget. So, and that's how it started. That's how we really gained a little bit more momentum. And I'm like, okay, well, we're collecting these people. That's great. So now we have like 5 locations. What else do we need? And it was a lot of like begging, borrowing, and not stealing, because we don't steal. That's really how it got made. It was just sheer pushiness and stubborn.
Perseverance. No, perseverance, Kate. Yes.
That's a nice way of saying it. And just like really diving deep into like what assets we have and like how to really leverage that.
And going back even further, was the goal to create a summary for the film or just one scene? And also to follow up with Meredith, did you develop your editorial style working on this teaser? Were you involved in that process too? So I guess I'm just curious of like the structural artistic goal for this short.
I didn't come on board until pre-pro was really revving up, and that was 2015 into 2016 when we eventually shot. So Kate, I'm not sure like what you were thinking as far as structure for the, what is it called? The teaser.
The teaser, we filmed like the sizzle that you want to give somebody to give them a sense of what the project was and, why they would want to know more. So that's kind of what we captured in the sizzle reel or the teaser. And it was great. Like everybody worked really hard. The team was amazing. And we didn't misspend money. Like, I think we just didn't have that perspective. Like we were really responsible with our budget and we were fair to people. And, the goal was to really drum up interest in the project.
Raise funds.
And to just get people to buy into it and to be on board and to fall in love with our actors and to fall in love with our team. And that was really the goal.
I don't want to talk about the teaser the whole time, but I have more questions.
Sure.
So like you're going into this, you're thinking like, we're going to raise a whole bunch of money and you're like, okay, we'll spend $14,000 on just the sizzle. Going into the feature version where you have, not the budget you were imagining, like what did you change going from, production on the sizzle to production on the feature?
That's a great question. And we changed our perspective first and foremost. You had to. It was like, we know that we have a really great project and we know that people enjoy working with us. How can we, again, leverage what we have and create a great environment for people to work in and also get what we want out of this film? And there was a lot of creativity as well. There were days where we couldn't do a full company move from, the time that we had to how long things were taking and we were running behind and stuff like that. So, I think we had to be a lot more nimble with our thoughts and our plan. And we went with like a team that was a little bit green. So, it wasn't all these seasoned pros that, may not work for what we had to offer, which was, fine because we were new too. So we really believe in collaboration. This is what we do this for. I don't write films to sit in my room and just like do them by myself. And that's why that's one of the things that drew me to filmmaking is like, I have this idea and, like Meredith added so much to the film just because she has this wealth of experience that I don't have. And it shapes the film into something that is totally unexpected. So working with a team that was, a little bit newer, just like us, was also another way that we pivoted from, the teaser.
Ultimately, how did you find the financing to make the movie?
Yeah, so we had an angel investor. We had a couple and, we did the numbers and we were like, the fiscal sponsorship was key because we could offer something back to someone who is an angel investor and had no, they believed in our team and they were like, I'll get something back. And, I strongly recommend that for new filmmakers. If you can get fiscal sponsorship, you can get a tax credit for any contribution that you get. And that was a big deal for us.
How do you meet an angel investor? Can I get these phone numbers, the websites, email addresses?
Yes, I have a whole list of them. So Liz, I'll email them to you.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And they just throw money at you.
I knew it.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. It's your network. It's like, friends and family and, whoever else you can just get in front of and say, listen, this is what we're doing. I can't make any promises on the return, but I can tell you that it's a great film and we have a great team and, we'll do something with it.
Yeah, this angel investor term is so fun because like when I was looking for funds on my film, I was like, okay, there's angel investors out there. Where do I find them? Like, there's got to be a site or some sort of place where they go, and it's like
an angel investor bar that they all hang out.
I think the bar is right next to Narnia, isn't it? It's like right next to Narnia. I think.
Yeah, through your network, it's like that's how you find these people, and if you're lucky. But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I have a kind of a big picture question. This is probably not like the best time to ask it, but I am dying to know the answer to this. Do you feel like if you would have raised $1 million, like, do you think the movie would be better? Or do you feel like the movie is what it is, like, and as good as it would have been at, the budget you had versus 10 times that?
Meredith, do you want to jump in?
My gut wants to say no, because the organic nature of the film and how the actors interact would have been the same. Perhaps, we can say, oh, the locations could be better, the sound could be better, the cinematography, like whatever you want to say. But ultimately, the crux of the film for me is how organic and free flowing it is. And how we are put into New York City and feel that magic. And I think that with the budget that we had, we did an incredible job.
Do you feel the same way, Kate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a freedom that comes, as hard as it is when you have such a small budget, there's a freedom that I think that you have the opportunity to have when you have a small budget. And, there is a magic that comes with it. You don't have to answer to anybody. The only people that you have to answer to are the people on your team. And, in the spirit of true collaboration, I feel like that's one thing. You don't have too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. And I think that with the budget that we had, there were those moments of magic. There's one scene in particular, like I said before, we were supposed to film it in a different location and we literally didn't have the time. Like, we were coming up just after lunch and we're like, we're supposed to be across town right now and there's no way. And it was a wildly different scene. And, we did a quick walk around Hunter College and we were like, where are we going to do this? Let's find a place that makes sense. And it's one of the most interesting scenes that I think is in the film. Like, it's just so telling of the moment. So I think that magic wouldn't have happened if we had a bigger budget. It would have been a lot more planned out. It would have been a lot more methodical. So I think that, Threebound is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Just for those who have seen the movie or maybe will watch the movie after this, like, what scene is that?
It's a scene where Matt has a little romp with his coworker. And it was supposed to take place at her apartment.
Oh, wow.
And
Yes.
and it didn't. It took place elsewhere. So it was just it was a great find. And, I remember when we found it, I was like, yes, this is it. Problem solved.
One of my favorite scenes to edit as well. It was just, the actors were just on point. And
Jason and Heidi. hilarious together. We had so many tough decisions. Meredith can speak to this, but like in post, we were like, oh, we don't want to cut this. And it was hard because they're just so amazing.
No, Liz wants to
Let's
ask
talk a little bit about.
okay, let me get. Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it. No.
fine,
I'm doing it.
Fine.
Because I want to talk about micro budget film, because it's like y'all are going through such tough conditions. You're working really hard hours. You're working for such liminal pay. It's like it's dangerous, right? And by the way, Alrik and I are both micro budget feature filmmakers, so we kind of understand this paradigm. But my question is it worth it? Like, why this film? And was the pitch like, I heard be a part of our team, we're loving kind of labor of love kind of experience, but I kind of want to ask, like, is the reason you feel it's a successful because it's a finished film and because you're proud of it, or is it because of there's something else? Because you probably went through hell to make this movie. I'm just trying to get in a little bit deeper of like, was it worth it? And if I know it's hard to be super honest in a public forum like this, so as transparent as you can be.
Oh, sure. Yes, 100% worth it. I started writing. I started as an actor. I'm still an actor, and I started writing because I was getting frustrated seeing my talented actor friends not getting the roles that they deserved. And I kind of fell into production. And I wrote Threebound because I wanted to see my friends do great work. And, the acting in this with Jason and Walter and Laura and, our whole team, seeing them on screen shining, I'm going to start to cry, but seeing them have the opportunity to and Lauren Hooper, Zach Miko, Chris Barber, I can just name all of the people that were in the film, but just seeing them out there and having this, and it's not a huge budget. It's not on everybody's radar, but just knowing that we came together, and it was freaking hard to do. And, it's like herding cats when you're a producer. You're like, okay, we're going to do this. Are you going to be around? Okay, we'll do, and, just seeing them have the opportunity to be in this project and to see it to fruition and to see it ultimately distributed on different streaming platforms, that's a victory to me. And on top of it, it's a good film. We're proud of it because it has a lot of stories and it has a lot of history, and through the years our team has become friends. They see each other at auditions, they work together, they recommend each other, so that in itself, it's building a community. And again, I feel like we're spoiled because we are under the radar and we don't have to deal with the bullshit that goes on in the business, even though this is the business too. So, I see it 100% as a success.
It would suck, to continue making film after film with people that you don't really get along with or you don't really like. What's the point of that? So it was long hours. It was difficult, and finding the time to connect, especially because I edited this in LA and Kate and Daryl are in New York, and we made it work. It took a little longer than what major feature film editing process would be, but I was solo and kind of lost track of where I was going. But ultimately, I think that it is worth it because we love our team and we made something that we were all really passionate about.
Let's talk about what happened when the movie was done. What was the festival plan? How did you guys get to the distribution that you have now? Can you just talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the festival plan was, send it to as many places as we could, and see what happened. And we were thrilled to premiere at Soho, which is where our team was from. And we were really very proud to be in New York and to have so much of our team at our premiere. So that was a big deal for us. And then distribution was a learning curve for us. I mean, we didn't know anything about distribution. Really, I mean, it was just kind of like, okay, well, what do we do now? And, so it's, you have to just ask questions, ask what people have done in the past, and just dig your heels in and do the work and do the research, and, find different ways of getting your work out there. That was our plan. Our plan was always to just get it out there.
I feel bad about cutting Alrik off earlier, but now I'm just saying that I feel bad about it.
I'll never let you forget it ever. No, I'll have time to ask it later.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well, let's keep talking about festivals then. I mean, is Soho the only festival you played? And then, I think all of us filmmakers know that there's kind of lower hanging fruit festivals below Soho that you could have easily played. So in terms of just extending that festival run, when did you decide we're just going to approach distributors or they're going to approach us, or what kind of was the threshold for staying in the festival world?
Yeah, we submitted to some of the bigger festivals. We were encouraged to submit to some big ones that I actually hadn't thought to submit to. I'm like, we'll never get it. And I was right, unfortunately, but yeah. I was like, someone's like, you should, and this was a friend who's in the business, and, kind of a critical person. If he doesn't like it, he would have told us. And he's like, you should definitely think about this. And yeah. It was nice. It was a nice thought, though. But yeah, I mean, we submitted to the festivals that we thought would be a good fit for us, and didn't. I'm sure that we could have done a little bit more on the festival front, but it was a little tricky because we're a small team, so it's kind of like a full-time job. Researching festivals, seeing where you're a good fit and where you might be programmed. And, at the time I was a new mom, so that was an obstacle. So Daryl has
Wow.
40 kids? No, Daryl has 3 girls. So, and Meredith, I think Meredith had just moved out to LA, or, was newly in LA. And, so we were doing our day jobs. We were trying to get into festivals, and I mean, you guys know what it's like. It's like a whole balancing act. So yeah, and I mean, it was tough to do. So then I think once we got to a certain point, we were just like, let's get this going elsewhere. Let's go beyond the festivals. But I was very pleased to be in New York. Like, I felt like that was, had we premiered in I don't know, Arkansas, I think I may have pushed a little bit harder to get our whole team. And there's nothing wrong with Arkansas. It's just that none of our team is there. So it would have been like me and Meredith, and we would have been like, we're in Arkansas. So it just felt like a really nice bookend to our journey to finish up to start and finish at Soho.
So it had nothing to do with distribution. It was kind of a culmination event for the film.
It felt like good timing. And, yeah, I think that we were ready to move on, and the timing felt really good.
So I saw that you ended up with Indie Rights as your distributor, or like the company that you use to distribute the film. Can you just talk about what the experience has been like with them, and like why you decided to land on them of all of their places?
Meredith, do you want to?
We shopped around a bit and did our research. We felt like Indie Rights had indie films that were sort of along the same lines as Threebound, and we ended up giving them a shot. And I think our relationship is good. There's a little bit of, passiveness, but it's kind of up to the filmmaker to really make that worth their own while, and take the initiative and reach out to them and get reviews. And that's the next step that we encountered, was getting as many reviews as we can so that we can get pushed onto other platforms. But what about you, Kate? Indie Rights?
I think that overall it's been positive. I think it really depends on what your goals are for a film. For us, we really just wanted to, like I said, to have our film streaming so people could see it and, could experience it. And it wasn't so much about making our money back. So I think that you have to ask yourself, like, what is what are you looking for? Like, what are your goals for your film? And yeah, I mean, I knew that we weren't going to get our investment back, but luckily that wasn't a pressure that we had. And so far with Indie Rights, it's great. It's like Meredith said, it's kind of a hands-off approach. And it is more on the filmmakers. We've been really creative with how we've been pushing our stuff out there, and who knew that we had so many ideas on the marketing front. But Daryl, Meredith, and I we've been at the helm of our marketing department. But yeah, I mean, it's been a blast because I love working with these guys, but it's been hard because you get to a point where you're like, I literally have no more ideas. Like, I don't, like, not even a one. So I think we had a spreadsheet of like different ideas for a couple weeks and actually a couple months that Meredith put together. I'm like, these are great. And then we got to the end and we're like, no more ideas. That's it.
It's definitely a learning curve, and we, adaptation is what we have to do. And yeah, we're taking it punch by punch.
For sure.
In thinking about, sustainable careers, you had this angel investor or multiple angel investors, and they supplemented the budget and made things a whole lot easier, right? Because it wasn't your money, it was someone else's money, and it didn't feel, and they clearly didn't expect a return, because you mentioned earlier they didn't. But had it been your money, had it been a self-funded film, would you have gone with Indie Rights? Would you have spent more time in the festival run? Were you making decisions based off of, it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is based off of instinct, which is really amazing to be able to make those kind of decisions. And I'm just curious, if you had more resources or if you had less resources, what would have been sacrificed or what would have been promoted? So would you, let's say you had $10,000 more, would you spend that more on marketing for the film, or would you have spent it on more festivals? Where would have the resources gone? Or would you have still run by your instincts and just say, it's time to get out into the world?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question. And I think that when you're making...
It's like a very weird question. I will give you a break while you think about it, because it's a weird question. And I think I gave like a contradictory option, but please go on. Sorry.
No, it's a good question because, I think that as filmmakers, everybody has to consider like what they're doing and why they're doing it. So, I think everybody's been on a project or had a project where they would do it for anything. They would walk over hot coals for this project. And I think that's why you're supposed to do this. I think that if you're making a movie that you don't want to make, you're not in it for the right reasons. And I know that making money is part of what this is about. And, you have to have a sustainable income. But I think that everybody that is putting together a film needs to consider what their goals are. If we had investors that we were responsible for, I think that it may have been different. I can't really say because we weren't in that position, but if getting a return would have been a goal of ours, then yeah, I think that we would have had to have done our due diligence. I think that we would have had to consider how to allocate our resources, especially for distribution, because distribution is like a completely, it's like the last leg of the race, but it's the first leg of the race in a sense, because, you finish this whole thing and now you have to get it out there. And there are people in this world that are very good at that. And that's their job. So yeah, I mean, if things were different, it may have been a different journey for us. But yeah, does that answer your question?
It's always a prompt. It's always like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what she's going to say to this weird thing that I'm saying out loud. So I didn't even have an expectation.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, you have to think about why you're doing the work that you're doing. I think that's my overall recommendation. It's like, if you are using this project to establish yourself and to have as a calling card for your next project, then that's good to know, because the next project may have a bigger budget. Maybe you want to be able to put in your pitch deck that you've produced this. Not only did you produce it, but you have a return on your investment, and your investors will see that. So it's a whole different game, with that scenario. That wasn't our scenario.
What was your ultimate goal with the film? Was it just to make the best version of this movie as possible and get it out to the world for people to see?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. I mean, Meredith, what were your goals for this? I'm just going to deflect.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was an incredible experience to edit a full feature. I enjoyed it immensely, and I learned a lot through the process. But ultimately, yeah, trying to get as many people to see it as possible and for people to love it, and hopefully follow us through the next decades to see where we're at and follow our team and whatever projects we come up with in the future. So I think that was my goal, and I loved getting to know Kate and being part of the team, and I know that we've created a relationship that will continue for years.
Okay, Kate, do you have an answer now?
Gosh, I think it evolves. You write something and you start the process and you're like, oh, this could be really something amazing. And then it changes. And then you're like, okay, well, it's changed into this. So I think it's something that evolves. I think that what I wanted initially was to make a great film with a really great team. And whatever success happened, great. If it didn't happen, we have a bunch of stuff for our reels, and I'm really pleased with how it happened. I can't really say like, oh, I wish, do I wish we got into Sundance? Sure. Like what idiot would say no? Like that would be just stupid. Like, oh, this was magical, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah. I wish we would have premiered at Tribeca, because I think that our film is a New York film and we had really great, hardworking New York actors, and yeah, that should have been our trajectory, but it didn't happen. So I think that you have to really think about, making the most of what you have. And I think that's just kind of a through line for who I am as a producer, as an actor, as a writer. But yeah, I mean, things, you set yourself up and you have really high expectations, and then you have to, change them and pivot. And that's the gig.
I'm worried I'm going to go into a soapbox moment, but I consult in distribution. And so like, that's my job. And I always talk about what you just kind of said, which is like, you have to have a certain level of fantastical thinking when you go in to make a film. You have to shoot for the stars, or else you wouldn't make the movie to begin with, right? If you were like, all right, well, no one's going to see this movie, guess I'll go make it. Like there's nothing pushes you forward unless some sort of fantastical
100%.
thinking. And then I just 100% agree with what you're saying about you make the most of what you have. Like, I won't speak for Alrik. Alrik's still figuring out what his first feature is, but I'm a mid-tier filmmaker. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a working class filmmaker, and you could work your way up through the system. I'm saying this because I think accidentally I was grilling you a little bit, not even meaning to, because we always want to get to the core of why people do things, but sometimes it feels like we're pressing for something that maybe doesn't exist, and so I feel like we broke through some sort of wall with your last answer, which I not that there were walls, but I appreciate you acknowledging that of course, and the system is stacked against most filmmakers to have that kind of upward trajectory. And
it is. I mean, I did my research. I went to festivals to see what they programmed and to see, I've done professional development on, submitting to festivals, and learning about the process was staggering to know that, a third of the films are from other film festivals. A third are from like alumni, and that leaves a third of the films that they program for like open submissions. So it's stacked against you. But what you're saying is 100% true, Liz. Like, you have to create something and say, listen, this is going to be at Sundance. Because again, why would you say like, I'm hoping this plays at the mall, I'm going to set up a screening and just like,
I mean, that's actually a reach for me. I'd love to play the mall.
Hey, I'm from New Jersey. Like malls are our
mall culture.
Our where we go, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's true.
I have a couple questions, but I think the one that's the most relevant right now is like, do you feel that this is a sustainable process that you just went through with this film? Like, could you do this again? Or are you going to have to figure out another way to like get the money to make your next film?
No, it's not sustainable. Like, not at all. You have to, the first time around, as far as like raising funds, I did come up with some ideas, and the sad thing is what I lacked was conviction. I came up with a plan to approach companies for product placement, and I would get to reaching out and then I'd be like, okay, they're not interested, and it's like, and I didn't know how to what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a numbers word, which I can't think of right now, but to monetize. I didn't know how to monetize like the time that their product would be in the film. And, so I took a class in that, so which would have been helpful before I made Threebound, but that's how you learn. That's how you get better. That's how you grow. And I don't recommend making a film in 11 days. Yeah, it was hard, and I'm glad that we did it, but we missed out on a lot of good things too. Like, my AD on Threebound, I met with after because I wanted feedback. I wanted to be better at my job. So I was like, Marta, what could I have done better? She's like, you don't know what my favorite film is. And I was like, that is true. And it's stuff like that. It's the connections with the team and that kind of thing where I'm like, that's important. Like, it's something that is in this industry, it's so...
Is it important to know her favorite film? I'm pushing back on this. Why do you need to know Marta's favorite film? Why?
Well, I think it's not so much that specific. I think it's like having the time to get to know your team and to change the way this industry is. This industry is really transactional, and it's been that way because it's a habit. It's, oh, this is how things are done. And it's like, well, why are things done this way? We have businesses, hedge funds, financial companies that are spending so much time on building culture. It's like, in the arts, shouldn't we spend time on connecting with the people that we're working with? And we don't. And I think it would make us better artists. I think we would be freer with our work. We'd trust more, we'd take bigger risks. And it's something that is marginalized. And it's not important because we have to make our day.
Yeah.
That sucks. I didn't get into this business to have those kind of relationships. So.
Well, I think there's also a time and place, right? Like, there's a time where you can get to know your crew and you can get to have these conversations and everything. But I mean, when I directed my feature, I was friends with most of the crew before from other projects and from just crewing up on other things. But like, I was like totally in the zone. And like, I always say, like, everybody on that movie had fun, but me and like maybe the production designer. Like, everybody else had a great time. But we were like so just focused on what we were doing, and it was, I think it was a little bit more stressful for us. But I don't know, is that bad? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe it is that focus that you need to get a project done, especially when you don't have a long comfy schedule.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think that it depends on the artist. I think that it depends.
Some people need more nourishing on the job, and others are okay with just flying off and doing what they're supposed to do. So maybe she was one of those that needed more nurturing.
It's about models, though. I mean, this is what I'm trying to run this incubator with a few other people about changing the entire film industry. It's like literally what we're trying to do. And one of the things we're thinking about is different models and making sure that you're not, we keep talking about like overextending the workers that you're with, your collaborators. And so I get what you're saying. Like I had this image of like a theater company in my mind as you were talking, and like how every time before every rehearsal you would do these games because it would warm you up, but they also would allow you to like connect and trust the other people you were in the room with. Whereas you start a film shoot, you have a safety meeting and then you're done. You know, that's the only time you're connecting with them. So I like that a lot. I like what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. You know, you're never going to be able to make everybody happy, but I try to make as many people happy as I can. You know, the people that I work with, and I think that also surrounding yourself with people who have a similar process is helpful. You know, if somebody is very much like on their own, they don't like to interact too much information is overkill, then I don't know, it might not be a great fit. So I think it depends on the team that you want to build.
You have a last question, Liz, or you want?
No, I don't. I'm doing the eyes, doing the 5.
Okay, one more. Okay, so the question is basically, now that you've gone through this experience of making this film, like is there another film that you have the same passion to make next that you're looking to do? Or is it more like after going through this whole thing, now it's like, all right, I need that director for hire, that actor for hire, or editor for hire job? Like that's the only thing that you're like looking for in your future?
Yeah. Well, I'm studying to become a CPA. So no, just kidding.
Oh, but that would have been such a great skill for a producer.
I wasn't sure if you were joking or not.
Meredith's like, oh my God, you're gonna be in jail. You would be the worst accountant. No, like I don't know. Meredith, you go first.
This is a team. This is our film family, is how I see it. And whenever we're ready to do the next one, like I'm game, I am on board. But yeah, my day job is editing. So I will be taking those jobs as well as passion projects that I take for colleagues that don't have the budget. I'm always open to do passion projects because I am in a position where I can. I'm very lucky and thankful for that. So that's where I'm at.
Follow-up question, Meredith, real quick. Has this film gotten you another feature after editing this full feature?
I've done feature docs, yes, before and after Threebound.
Oh, nice. For
the most part, though, it's been short form content out here in Los Angeles.
Okay, Kate, bring on the answer.
Yes, I have a script that's draft 3, and I'm really excited about it. And then I have another one that I'm starting, just ideas with a colleague. So yes, there'll be something else in the works for sure. And I'd change some things. We're gonna strive for more money. We're gonna strive for more days.
Yes.
And one of the things that I want to strive for, if I can, I believe in creating a community where people feel like they matter to our project. And I want to have the time and the resources to do that. You know, I know it's not the norm, but it's important to me. And I think that it should be important to more people in the business. So that's our goals for the next one. And if I can somehow convince Meredith to come on board, and like I said, one of my talents is collecting good people. So there are a lot of people that hopefully will be able to come onto the next one.
Okay, time for final 5. Okay, so each of you, please answer in whatever order you'd like. For each of you, what is the first film you ever made and how do you feel about it now?
I made a short film called Gone Into the Clearing. I directed and produced it myself for about $13,000. I love it. Of course, it's nothing, when you make a film, it's not going to be what you envisioned exactly, but the team that I created and worked with made something far more meaningful and important to me, and I'm super proud of it.
My first film was a short film called A Leg Up. It was written while I was in holding while working on The Good Wife. And it was based on a story I heard from a woman that I was friends with when I lived in Australia. And it was a fantastic experience. I loved every second of it. And yeah, I'm super proud of it. Of course, there are like a billion things I'd change about it, but yeah, it was a good experience.
What's the best filmmaking advice you've ever received?
That is a good question.
Trust your gut, trust your instincts.
Nice.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. That was good, Meredith. Should I steal that one? I read a book by Ed Burns, and he said something about like being in the trenches, like pick people to surround yourself with that you want to be in the trenches with. And I felt like it was such a great way of describing what it's like to make a film in 11 days with no money. You're like, hey, who can wheel the wardrobe cart to our next location? Thanks, guys. So I think it's like pick people you want to be around to be in the trenches with you, and then go have a beer afterwards.
What are your goals for filmmaking?
To continue making content that I am passionate about, and that others will create a community around that content. I don't really care where it airs. Although, editing an HBO show will be nice eventually in the future.
Filmmaking goals. I want to continue creating great work with great people, and also to change the landscape a little of the industry.
If you could go back in time, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Give ourselves in general.
Yeah.
For this project specifically.
As an artist, or even if as a person, however you want to interpret it.
I would say choose who you take advice from. Be more selective with who you believe and who you take advice from, because this industry isn't a one size fits all, and nobody has the answers. There are no magical answers that are like, oh, this is exactly how it is. It's different for everybody. So you have to kind of carve your own path.
That is definitely something that I believe in. Every person, every editor, everybody has their own path and how they get to where they want to be. And I was kind of told by certain people when I was in New York, oh, you'll never make it. Like, don't go to LA. Like, it's not worth it. Like, where are you going to go? Like, what are you going to do? Like, it was super discouraging. But when I finished graduate school at School of Visual Arts, everybody was saying, just go out to LA, just go. And I did, and I don't regret it. I think that for me personally, don't be afraid of networking to the max, like don't be afraid to go to that event or that bar or that social or whatever it is. Like just go, just do it, see what happens.
Is making movies hard?
I'm going to say no.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say raising money is hard. I'm going to say, scheduling is hard. But when it comes down to it and you're just there and making movies with people that you like working with, no, it's great. I just have the goosebumps. It's just like, you have that moment when you're on set or when you're in the editing room and you like solve that problem, or you come up with that one thing that you've been searching for, and you're like, no, this is easy. This is the good part.
I agree. I mean, being an oncologist is hard. My dad would come home. My dad would come home every day after work and have a martini. Like, it takes a toll on you. And we are living the dream. I think that we are making content. We're making fun passion projects. And when you are surrounded by people that you want to work with, it just makes it so much better. And yeah, exactly what Kate said.
Wow. Amazing. So plug time, where should people go? Where do you want them to go to watch Threebound, to learn more about you and your company? Where should people head?
We are on Amazon. We're on Google Play, YouTube Movies, and
Tubi.
And if you want to learn more about the movie, you can go to www.threeboundmovie.com. And we're on all those social things, the things.
Okay, Liz, what do you remember from our talk with Kate and Meredith?
Okay. I hope this doesn't sound negative, because they were lovely and I like just want to hang out with them. I noticed this like by the book way of answering the questions for like the first half of the interview. There was like this way of like spinning everything to be really positive, and there was this like lovely outlook on life. And then I thought by like the end of the interview, we cracked that open and it got a little messy, and I loved that. So what I remember is that moment where I think we caught Kate off guard a little bit, because Kate is like very good at having just a great attitude about life. And I remember her like not knowing the answer to a question and us really talking genuinely for like the rest of the interview. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And I remember how forthcoming they both were with their thoughts on the film and where the film ended up and how it all went, you know. And I remember thinking that like, yeah, it was kind of interesting because like they didn't really push very hard for distribution or for a high level of distribution. They were just kind of like, oh yeah, the movie played a festival and now we're going to release it here. And that's good, you know? And it's like, and we're really happy that that's where it is. And it's like, well, this movie is actually really good. And way better than like a lot of other movies that, you know, have, you know, better distribution. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I kind of wonder what could have been if they had focused more on the back end of like really trying to get it out there. I also remember I had just watched the movie, you know, and so, and Kate's the lead. So I just remember like, it was kind of bizarre to like have just watched this movie with this lead character and then be talking to that person right after. I was like, oh man.
I love that. I love that feeling of like you having stared at their face for so long and then you're staring at their face in a different context.
Yeah, and like laughing at their jokes and like enjoying their performance and being like charmed by them, and then like talking to them in real life. You're like, oh wow, okay, you're a person too.
Yeah, you're real. No, I think this is a great show. And I also remember that they were very kind and very easy to communicate with. Like booking the show, they couldn't be more flexible. They thanked us after. It was just like, oh my God, like such lovely humans. So thank you, Kate and Meredith. And I hope people enjoyed the interview. Yeah.
And I hope people like the movie. I mean, there was one part of it that I was a little frustrating, but besides that one part, the rest of it, I was really into it. I was like, oh my God, this is like a really well done romantic comedy. Like this is good stuff.
I think it's time to talk about our short film of the week.
So you make movies, huh?
I produce feature motion pictures.
I got an idea for a movie.
This week on Get Shorty, we have a short film from filmmaker Roy Ellis IV called Product of My Environment, or POME. And here's Roy to talk about his film.
I chose a short film because I wanted to get into a film festival. I didn't have a lot of money. I knew that I was going to finance everything and that I was going to put up all my money. I put up, I think altogether like $7,500. I was like, this is the best way I can showcase my talents and hopefully get into some type of film festival and be able to politic and network with an agent. Because at that point, all I really wanted to do was to get signed and to have the opportunity to create something on a big scale. And I also wanted to show and prove to myself that I could do something on a bigger scale and that I could be able to have the mechanics to run a movie shoot or a film shoot. I chose to make POME because I felt the story was relevant, it was needed, especially as African American living in America. I got tired of hearing people talk about Black on Black crime and relating, you know, the deaths of African Americans to statistics as opposed to understanding that people are losing their lives. And I feel like that's part of the problem, is that we don't humanize these things. We look at it and say that, well, some people, almost everybody, believe that Black people are naturally prone to violence and can handle this type of violence. And I just wanted to humanize that idea. I just wanted to not preach or, you know, accuse anybody of anything or, you know, have this voice, but I wanted to show that it's not really what it is. It's very, a person made a bad decision and that could lead to other bad decisions. And you know, the choices that we make will affect us for the rest of our lives. I wanted to show that, you know, sometimes when you don't feel like the system works for you, you make horrible choices. And I'm not trying to say that everybody makes that choice or that the system doesn't always work. But what I can say is when you look at things like what's going on in America today, there's a feeling that sometimes we get left out of the equality part of justice. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a weird way to say it, but it feels like sometimes we get left out of our our rights as American citizens, and that we're just expected to deal with it. And not only do we get left out, but we get villainized. I didn't want to make him a hero because I don't think that violence, anybody who does violence, there should be crime, there should be penalties for that. But I also didn't want to villainize African Americans, which I feel like we've done in this country historically. So I make the short, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's on the crack, and now I'm about to get into all these festivals, Sundance, blowing them out the water. Slam Dance, I'll be there next year. You'll see me. South by Southwest, San Francisco International. Didn't get into any of them. And I think that was the best thing that could happen for me. I honestly do. I feel like what I really need to do is focus on building my craft and not worry about the accolades that come with it. Just worry about creating the best music I can and understanding the film business a lot more, because at this point in time, I don't feel like I know it like I should. So there's more stuff to come. I got a lot of stuff cooking and brewing, and yeah, I'll just continue to make shorts and web series and YouTube content until things really get going. But nothing's happened so far. The best thing that's happened was I was able to reach out to other artists, and I'm able to grow and build with these other artists, which has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, I'm to a point now to where I don't know. I mean, of course you want to get on, but I definitely think my role will be the role less traveled, but I think it'll be more gratifying because of it. So nothing's really happened. I mean, I got to interview with you guys, so this is probably the biggest thing that's happened to me thus far. Oh, and I got to do Bay Made, and which is a film festival thrown by LVO Films, and I got to do Black to the Bay, which are all great. The networking with them has been absolutely amazing. So when I made POME, there were so many changes that happened within it that I kind of let God guide me in the way that I need to go. I don't think I would make any changes to it. I think the one thing I would do is add one scene at the end, just because I feel like it will wrap it up just a little bit more, but I'll have it on the next one. I also will market it more. I think so many directors get caught up in making a great film that they don't understand that 70% of the film that makes a great film is people seeing that it's a great film. We fell in love with not so great films that we've all seen, but we definitely don't know anything about the great films that are out there in the world that we have no access to. So marketing, even from the standpoint of building a fan base, is the biggest goal for me right now. That's what my focus is, to market and make sure that I have a fan base that really likes what I do, and that I can have a voice that is, pure and not interrupted by the politics of Hollywood, because they're there. And you think that they're not there, but you see them on even the smallest levels. Like, even when there's no money, you can see how corporate this industry is. So I think that's understanding how I can blend the art with the corporate side of it, and to still have a voice and to still be able to be myself is the biggest thing I want to do.
Alrik, what did you think of Product of My Environment?
So I saw this a while ago because I worked with Roy on a commercial, back in November or October. It was like the last thing I did before doing this new post-production job. But yeah, this movie is really well done, I think. I really love the tone and the feeling of it overall. I thought that was really cool. I thought the performances were really solid across the board. I like the ending and the internal sequences where the kid is imagining what might happen if they go through with like their plan to do the shooting or to get revenge on these guys or this person, or whoever. I thought those were really cool, like creative moments, in the movie where it kind of takes it out of side of a regular drama and it's more of this like kind of magical realism thing, which I always really enjoy. Or just like, I don't know if you'd call it magical realism, or it's probably more just like, I don't know, abstract filmmaking maybe, I guess, or something. But so I like that. I didn't really like the opening of the movie where the brother got shot like super randomly, like right after giving the chain to the little brother. He just is out with his girl and then suddenly gets shot. And it's like, I kind of have a little bit of backstory on this because I think originally it was supposed to take place in a different location, and then they had some location issues, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I thought that was a little like it's too convenient, too easy. It's like, I don't know, is that really how it would go down? Like he would just happen to be giving his brother his chain and then he happens to get shot right after. I don't know. Could be. It just didn't seem, I don't know. It just seemed a little like, oh, this was convenient. We did this because we didn't have very much time and we didn't have a lot of locations. And then I felt the actor that was playing the brother's friend, who was really like the instigator to trying to get revenge. I really liked his performance overall. I really liked his energy, but I think he just really overdid it here and there, where he just was a little bit too over the top, a little bit too much, especially in the scene where the other guy who's played by the director, Roy, just because I know him, is telling him to send the kid home when they're like having that conversation outside of the car. I think that whole sequence, he just is like, it just started to feel a little too, like it took it from intense and like this person is like this really aggressive, over the top personality to like, I don't know, a little too much for me. But other than that, I mean, I really like this short. I thought it was really well done. What did you think, Liz?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't think the beginning was too convenient. The performances were good. I don't have the same constructive comment about the instigator that you have. I actually have about the main character. Like something is missing in the confrontation when he's saying, we're not going to go forward with this. And he gets really, really passionate. And for me, it was like weirdly missing something. I was like, oh, I just wish he just pushed himself one more time, one more notch in terms of energy, one more notch in terms of conviction. I actually watched this short today, and for the first time, I looked up the cinematographer, tracked him down, and wrote him an email to say how beautifully shot I thought it was. I really thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was so beautiful, and I was like, I want to work with this guy. This guy's great.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was beautiful. I thought the editing was great. Performances are strong, except for that last element for me. I'm on board. I'm on board for this film.
The one thing I didn't say, which Roy is probably not going to like me saying, but sorry, Roy. Like, and this is really funny because you just said the exact opposite. But I thought like there's just this shaky cam thing. I just loved it. The handheld movement is cool, but like to some point, it's just like, just hold it steady, man. Like you don't need to be moving it all the time. Like you could just have it like, just like let it be. You don't need to like add the extra bump, the extra push, the extra thing here just for time. I just felt like it was a little much, but I guess it's a style.
It was more about the lighting that I was drawn to, actually. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the operation, but it was like the way things were framed, the gorgeous like red and blue light in that room. It was like the combination of production design and lighting and just the overall cinematography. But yeah, everyone has their own feelings regarding handheld or shaky cam.
I will agree. Overall, I thought the cinematography was great. It was just a couple of moments where I was just like, it's just a little stab of like, oh God, and I guess some of it, is because like they didn't have money for car rigs or whatever. So they just had them in the backseat of the car, and that's fine. But, some of the moments I'm just thinking of specifically were not in the car. And it's just like, it's just a style thing. It's what's hip right now. It's cool. That's fine. Like it's not my jam. I'm not totally like a Francis Ford Coppola type person who's like the camera can't move or it has to be static the whole time and can only move on a dolly or whatever. Like I'm not that, whatever strict, but I just feel like, anyways, moving on. Great work, Roy. Thanks for sharing. 60, 70 views. Oh,
you got to do better than that. Yeah.
This movie needs to be seen by more people. I don't know if we're the first person show or website or anything that Roy sent it to. I don't know if he's tried to get reviews other places or, pimped it out on any of the places. I know it played some film festivals. Like, he should be pimping it out at the film festival websites and the film festival Twitters and stuff. That always helps. But anyways, people watch this movie. But Liz, guess what?
You've got mail. You've got it.
Breath catches in my chest until I hear 3 little words. You got mail.
Okay, so we are finally getting back to our YouTube comments, but first, oh my God, we have a new iTunes review. I
know.
almost can't believe it.
It's great. I love it. I read it every day. I do read it a lot.
When did you find out about this iTunes review? Did you
The
find
day
out
it was posted.
on May 31st?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You should have texted me. We could have
You
a
should
party.
have.
I just found out today. But anyways, here, this is from May 31st from Eric Parnell. It's titled Great Show, exclamation point. Making movies is hard has been a great education in the independent film for me. I really appreciate Liz and Alrik. We're all in this together attitude. I'm listening through tons of past episodes to learn, and it also really helps me stay motivated to keep pursuing the indie dream. 5 stars. Thanks so much, Eric. What a great review. I really appreciate it.
You're awesome, Eric. It means a lot that you like the show, and let us know if you have. Don't we do that thing where it's like, oh, if you have a question,
yeah,
let us know and we'll tackle it.
If you have a question, comment, topic, shout out, whatever it is, let us know and we'll read it on the show. Although I guess that was his shout out, was his review. So thank you, Eric, for that. Okay, finally. Oh, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. I know everybody's been waiting for these comments. Here are some YouTube comments from episode 311 featuring Chelsea Chrysler. We have a comment from Walking Cane the Apple.
Amy Taylor.
Offender. Yeah, Amy Taylor. She says, Chelsea seems like a delight. And as a narrative person, I cannot imagine the patience, dedication, and perseverance to get a documentary finished, much less make a good one, which is definitely true. Good old G Ken, as Travis called him. He says, since you two haven't been getting any questions, here's a couple for you. Alrik, what was the pitch meeting like to the board of directors for the Ford Tempo? Liz, what do circus ringmasters do in their free time?
Wait, did you have a pitch to anyone at Ford Tempo, or is he making this up?
He's just, I don't know. These are just ridiculous, non-answerable questions he posted just to make fun of our ass for questions. I wish at first, when I first read this, I was like, what was the pitch? I was like, oh, the pitch for the alternate, the pitch for this. And then it's like the Ford Tempo. I'm like, oh, he doesn't actually care about anything. He just is making fun of us.
You think so negatively about Gary Kennedy, who is just trying to engage, trying to converse. He's saying silly questions. This is the one time where I'm the optimist and you're the pessimist, which is very weird.
Gary also says, Awaken may possibly be the best looking short you two have had on here. However, I just didn't get the story. There was an obvious passion behind this film and the subject matter, but I just think that the passion for the subject trumped the storytelling, which sounds similar to what we said.
Yeah.
Different, but similar.
That's fair.
You want to take this next one?
Yeah. On episode 312, featuring Anna Elizabeth James, Gary Kennedy, best Gary Kennedy that we know, says, Anna Elizabeth James is badass. I love the comment about we went to the same school and as having a child and a family of my own. I too don't have the time to go to networking events to just shoot the shit. I'm definitely going to be listening to our interview again. I went into Nightlight knowing it was a student film, and knowing that, I thought the production was really, really good. It just seemed that the edit could have been tightened up in a few parts. You two also mentioned the compression in some of the dark parts. That's just a YouTube thing. A trick I found to help with that is to render out the project in 4K, even if it's only 1080. YouTube seems to be giving better compression to 4K files from what I've experienced. Hey, Gary Kennedy, thank you for solving a problem. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the hot tip. That's something I'll definitely consider in the future for exporting stuff. Anyways, any comments on the comments, Liz, or nothing to say here?
No, I appreciate anyone who wants to talk to us. So thank you for leaving comments.
Me too. It's very sweet. So if you want to be like Eric Parnell, jump over to iTunes and leave us a review, which you can do. Thanks again, Eric. Or you can support the show on Patreon at www.patreon.com/MMIH podcast and give what you can. Thanks to all of you lovely people who are doing that right now. If you want to send us a question, comment, or suggestion, you can do so to podcast@makingmoviesishard.com. Or if you like the show, you can leave us a review on iTunes, just like Eric already said this. Or any of the other places you can leave reviews for podcasts, which I don't even think there are other places you can leave reviews for podcasts. I think it's just iTunes. And finally, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MMIH Podcast, and YouTube at Making Movies is Hard Podcast, where you can comment away, join the conversation with Gary. I know if you comment on one of his comments, he will comment back to you. So if you want to have a dialogue, Gary is willing. Thanks to Kate Forsatz and Meredith Veach for coming on the show and talking about Threebound, which is out now on all the things. So make sure to watch it. Amazon Prime is where I watched it.
Check out our website, makingmoviesishard.com, where you can find links to the things we talked about on this episode. Thanks to Alrik for doing the editing. We all really appreciate you, Alrik. And thanks to everyone for listening, and talk to all y'all next week.
Making Movies is Hard has been a great I think I typed this wrong.
Great education.
Yeah.
Good short.
So, if you want to be like Eric Parnell, jump over to the